All right, so when you're fishing shallow in the pre-spawn winter months, the colder water, depending on what part of the country you live in, a flipping bite tends to be a major player that time of year. Now, there are three baits that come to everyone's mind when we are flipping. It's a Texas rig, a big jig, and a finesse jig. They all have their time and place, and it's important to understand when you need to implement each of those techniques in the colder water. Now, the finesse jig gets the most attention in the colder months because a lot of times you're only going to get about 5 or 6 bites in a full day of fishing. So you need to downsize your bait to upsize your number of bites. So that finesse jig has all the attributes of a regular jig, better hookup percentage, you're going to get a better quality bite on average. It just draws better fish, and there's really nothing better than imitating a crawfish than the way that skirt flares. Now, a big jig is almost only used to target a bite or two. To put a bigger jig in your hand all day when the water's that cold is really rolling the dice. It's hard to do. Even that finesse jig, for me, a lot of the times, I have to implement it in with a couple other pre-spawn techniques, and I'm fishing for 1 or 2 bites with that. It's a big fish technique or something like that. I'm not looking for that to fill my limit. Now, the last one's the Texas rig. This typically isn't my favorite or first approach when I'm going flipping when the water's that cold, but I have found that if you get yourself a real subtle creature bait like a beaver style bait with a lighter weight, that's going to allow that bait to fall a lot slower. You really want something very subtle when you're flipping a creature bait in the pre-spawn. So the less action on the bait is important. And there's just something different about this than there is a jig. If it's the bulky profile or the lack thereof, it just sometimes attracts bites. Where I've fished a lot of the day for 0 bites with a jig, and I pick this up in the back of every pocket I run to, I can get bit on that. So those three, they all have their place. And a lot of times I'm going to start my day off with a moving bait in the pre-spawn. But on the back sides of these fronts, you're going to have a lot of post-frontal, bluebird, sunny. The barometer is rising, and the fish are just going to relate to something. They want to get on cover. They want to be on the bottom. They want to get on wood, around docks and rocks and things like that. And you just can't target them with that small strike zone with a moving bait, and you have to slow down. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the water.